Some of my favorite parts about my practice here is that I get to work with young professionals and young families in establishing their estate plan. Now when people think of an estate plan or an estate, this often conjures up ideas of vast tracts of land or significant family wealth, the kind of property that is going to stretch out and last for generations. That is one type of estate that requires a specific type of planning, but even young families with small estates with limited amounts of property can really benefit from a good quality estate plan. For example, one piece of estate planning that every family should address is planning for disability. If you were in a terrible accident and were unable to provide for yourself, or if you were in a terrible accident or had some kind of incapacity befall you that made it so that you were unable to make decisions for yourself, you would want to have at least a basic estate plan in place to help provide instructions for how you want those kind of decisions to be made on your behalf. One way you can do that is by a preparation of a power of attorney, where you can authorize a specific agent or your attorney in fact to make decisions on your behalf. These can be healthcare decisions, they can be financial decisions, and with a power of attorney you can authorize somebody that you trust to make those decisions for you. You could also enact a trust. With a trust you can give a more complex set of instructions on how your assets are going to be administered and how decisions should be made. A lot of times if you have a disability insurance policy, you can have that policy be paid to your beneficiaries, and you can have a trust in place to designate how those assets should be managed. And probably the most important aspect of any estate plan for a young family is planning for the children, planning for your minor children who are not going to be able to make decisions on their own. Especially if you and a spouse were in a tragic accident and were no longer able to take care of your children, you want to have a clear plan in place that determines who's going to care for your children, who's going to be able to provide for them, who's going to be able to make their healthcare decision, who's going to be able to decide where they go to school. Those kinds of decisions can be laid out in an estate plan. In a simple will, you can designate who your choice is as the potential guardian for your children. But sometimes you might want one person to manage the financial aspect of your estate, any property that you leave behind, and you want that property to be managed for the benefit of your children. You might have one person in mind to make those financial management decisions, and another person in mind to give the day-to-day care for your children. In that situation, you can designate who your choice would be for a guardian of your children, and you could designate somebody else as a trustee of a trust. And in that trust, you could put your assets, your life insurance policy, your home, any other assets that you might have, and those assets can be protected for your children and managed by the person that you choose to manage your assets, while somebody else is able to take care of your children on a day-to-day basis. And then finally, there's a lot of asset protection that you can engage in an estate plan, even if you have limited assets. In fact, if you have limited assets, sometimes it becomes that much more important to have a carefully considered estate plan. Young families don't typically have, multiple family businesses yet. They don't typically have, like I said, vast tracts of property. They don't have necessarily, huge bank accounts, but they often have a home. And if you've bought a home in the last 6 or 7 years, you might have a fair amount of equity in that home. If you put a plan together to manage that equity, to manage that property, then if it becomes necessary to sell your home, and the payout from the sale of that home it can be used to take care of your kids, then that's something that your estate plan can designate and can emphasize and can provide instructions on how exactly that should take place. Everybody can benefit from an estate plan. Everybody's estate planning needs are different. So just don't assume that because you don't have vast amounts of property that there's no planning that could take place that would really help you and your family. The bottom line is, if you're a young family or a young professional and you have a small estate, there's still some important planning that you can engage in. If you have any questions or any concerns about how the best way to go about doing that is, just give us a call.